I found the receipt tucked between the pages of a cookbook we never used. A dinner for two at an oceanfront restaurant in Newport Beach. Dated the same Tuesday Valerie told me she was working inventory until 9. The total was $347. For inventory night at a boutique in Long Beach. My name is Scott, and I'm an auditor for a mid-sized accounting firm in downtown Long Beach. I spend my days analyzing financial statements, tracking discrepancies, finding patterns where others see chaos. Numbers don't lie, they can't. They exist in absolute truth, clean and measurable. But apparently, my wife of 5 years had learned to lie so effortlessly that I'd never even suspected. We lived in a modest 2-story house on a tree-lined street in Long Beach, the kind of neighborhood where people still waved to each other from their driveways and kids rode bikes until the streetlights came on. It was a Tuesday through Sunday kind of place, comfortable and predictable. Our house had 3 bedrooms. One we used, one I'd converted into a home office, and one that sat empty, waiting for children we kept saying we'd have someday. Valerie worked as a sales associate at Luminance, an upscale boutique on 2nd Street that catered to wealthy women from the surrounding beach communities. The kind of place where a single handbag costs more than my monthly car payment, and where the sales associates wore designer clothes as part of the job requirement. I'd always been proud of how she carried herself in that world, polished, sophisticated, confident. She could sell a $10,000 watch to someone who already owned 5 of them, and make them feel grateful for the opportunity. That receipt sat on my desk in my home office for 3 days before I touched it again. I'd placed it there that first night, right next to my keyboard, and every time I sat down to work, I stared at it. The paper had started to curl at the edges. Part of me wanted to believe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was a client dinner she'd forgotten to mention. Maybe she'd gone with Tina, her co-worker and best friend, and they'd split the bill in some odd way that happened to put it on Valerie's card. Maybe I was being paranoid, letting my professional skepticism bleed into my personal life. But I couldn't shake the feeling. And auditors don't ignore feelings, we investigate them. I didn't confront her. Instead, I did what I do best. I started gathering data, building a case, looking for the pattern beneath the surface. The first thing I noticed was the pattern in her credit card statements. I'd always handled our finances. Valerie said numbers gave her a headache, which I'd found endearing at the time. Every other Thursday for the past 2 months, there was a charge at the same upscale hotel bar in Huntington Beach. The waterfront resort. Always between $200 and $400. Always on nights, she claimed to be doing late inventory, or attending vendor meetings, or meeting with regional sales managers. I pulled up our bank statements and highlighted every suspicious charge. They formed a timeline that made my chest tight. April 23rd, dinner in Laguna Beach, $289. May 7th, the waterfront resort bar, $312. May 21st, same place, $295. June 4th, another dinner, this time in Corona Del Mar, for $106. Every single one of these charges fell on nights when Valerie had come home late, smelling faintly of expensive wine, her lips still glossy with fresh lipstick application. She'd kiss me on the cheek, tell me she was exhausted, and head straight for the shower. How had I not seen it? I logged into our shared cloud storage, something we'd set up years ago for household documents, tax returns, and photos. It was supposed to make our lives easier, keeping everything in one place we could both access. Valerie never changed her passwords. She used the same one for everything, 091519, our wedding date backwards. In her photo backup, automatically syncing from her phone, I found pictures I'd never seen. Her, absolutely glowing in a red dress I didn't recognize, standing on the deck of a yacht with the coastline behind her. Her, laughing with champagne in hand at some rooftop party with string lights and sunset views. Her, wearing diamond earrings I'd never bought her, posing in a mirror with the kind of smile I hadn't seen on her face in months. And in the background of several photos, sometimes blurred but always present, a man. Tall, silver-haired, distinguished-looking in the way that comes from money and confidence. Expensive watch catching the light. Custom-tailored suits. The kind of man who owned yachts instead of renting them. My hands shook as I downloaded every photo, creating a folder on my desktop labeled July 2024, Evidence. I ran his face through reverse image search, screenshotting the clearest shot I could find. The results came back immediately. Hank Morrison, CEO of Morrison Capital Group, a private equity firm based in Costa Mesa. 52 years old. Divorced twice. Net worth estimated somewhere north of $40 million, according to a recent Orange County Business Journal profile. I read the article 3 times. He invested in luxury retail, high-end restaurants, boutique hotels. He was described as a titan of Southern California's investment scene, and known for his discerning eye and aggressive acquisition strategy. Apparently, that strategy extended beyond businesses. My stomach turned, but I kept digging. Because if there's one thing my job has taught me, it's that the first piece of evidence is never the only piece. You keep pulling the thread until the whole thing unravels. Her text messages were backed up to the cloud too. I sat in my home office on a Wednesday evening in late July, the air conditioning humming against the summer heat outside, while Valerie was supposedly at a trunk show that would run until 10. The messages loaded slowly, my internet connection struggling with months of conversations appearing in reverse chronological order. I started with recent messages to unknown numbers not saved in her contacts. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Wear that perfume I like. H. Last night was incredible. You're all I think about. H. Tell Scott you're working this weekend. We'll take the boat to Catalina. 2 nights, just us. H. Each message was a knife, but I kept reading. I scrolled back further, watching the relationship develop in reverse. The messages started 4 months ago, mid-March, right after Luminance had hired Morrison Capital Group to handle some expansion financing. I remembered Valerie mentioning it, how excited she was that their small boutique was attracting serious investment attention, how this could mean bigger commissions, better opportunities. Their first exchange was professional. Hank asking about product lines and customer demographics. Valerie responding with detailed sales data and market analysis. She'd always been smarter than she gave herself credit for. Then, would you be available for lunch next week to discuss the investment terms? I like to get to know the people behind the numbers. H. Valerie's response. Of course. I'd love to discuss Luminance's future. Tuesday. 3 weeks later, lunch had become drinks. Drinks had become dinner. Dinner had become a weekend trip to San Diego that I'd been told was a regional sales conference for luxury retail associates. I remembered that weekend. It was mid-April, and I'd stayed home, spending Saturday reorganizing the garage and Sunday watching baseball. She'd come home Sunday night with stories about networking sessions and keynote speakers. She'd seemed energized, alive in a way I hadn't seen in a while. I'd thought the conference had inspired her. She'd been with him. But what gutted me, what made me close my laptop and sit in the dark for 20 minutes just breathing, wasn't just the affair. It was a message from 3 weeks ago, early July. I've been thinking about what you said last night. About leaving him and starting fresh with me. I know it's complicated, sweetheart, but Scott doesn't need to know anything until you're ready. I've got my attorney drawing up some documents, a post-nuptial agreement for you to sign that'll protect what's yours. Once that's done, you can walk away clean. We can be together properly. H. Valerie's response, sent at 11:47 p.m. while I slept in our bed. I love you. I just need more time to figure out the finances. He's an auditor, so I have to be careful about moving money. But yes, I want this. I want us. I want the life you're offering me. There it was. Not a fling. Not a mistake she'd regret. A calculated exit strategy, planned with the precision of a corporate merger. I sat back in my chair, my hands shaking so badly I had to grip the armrests. 5 years. We'd been married 5 years, together for 7. I'd thought we were building something. We'd talked about kids someday. Maybe buying a bigger house closer to the coast where we could hear the ocean. I'd worked extra hours, taken on additional audits, skipped vacations to save for the kind of life she deserved, never questioning why our joint savings account had stopped growing as quickly as it should have. That's when I decided to check our accounts more carefully, applying the same forensic analysis I'd use for a client. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 3 months, starting in May, Valerie had been systematically transferring money from our joint savings account to a personal checking account I didn't have access to. The transfers were strategic, small enough not to trigger any alerts I might have set up, but consistent. $500 here, $1,000 there, $1,500 the next week. But when I added them all up, calculated the total across 3 months, the number was staggering. In July alone, she'd moved nearly $18,000. Money I'd been setting aside from performance bonuses, from careful budgeting, from skipping the new car I needed and the golf clubs I wanted, all so we could save together for our future. Except there was no our future anymore. There was just her future with Hank Morrison, funded partially by my work, my sacrifice, my naive belief that we were partners. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to Valerie in our bed, listening to her breathe, watching the ceiling fan rotate slowly in the darkness. She came home at 10:47 p.m. from her trunk show, kissed my forehead like she always did, and went to shower. I pretended to be half asleep. She slipped into bed smelling like hotel soap, not the lavender body wash she kept in our bathroom, but something generic and institutional. The next morning, Thursday, I called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. Valerie left for Luminance at her usual time, 9:30 a.m., wearing a navy blue dress and heels that made her legs look incredible. She kissed me goodbye, told me to rest and drink plenty of fluids, and reminded me that she'd be home late again, inventory night. I waited until her car disappeared around the corner, then got dressed. I knew from her calendar that she worked until 6 p.m. on Thursdays, with her supposed inventory starting at 7. I also knew from tracking her location history that she never actually stayed at Luminance past 6:30 p.m. on these nights. Instead, she drove to Huntington Beach, to the waterfront resort. I needed to see it with my own eyes. Not because I didn't believe the evidence, the messages, the photos, the bank statements were conclusive, but because some part of me, some desperate, pathetic part, needed the absolute certainty that only visual confirmation could provide. I drove to Huntington Beach that afternoon, arriving at 4 p.m. The waterfront resort was exactly the kind of place Hank Morrison would choose. Expensive but not ostentatious, with private cabanas, an exclusive restaurant, and a bar that overlooked the Pacific. I parked my Honda Civic in the public lot 2 blocks away, feeling suddenly conscious of how ordinary my car looked, how ordinary I was. I found a coffee shop across the street with outdoor seating and a clear view of the resort's valet entrance. I ordered an iced coffee I didn't want and sat down to wait. At 6:42 p.m., Valerie's white BMW pulled up to the valet stand. I watched her step out, and my breath caught. She'd changed clothes since this morning. The navy dress was gone, replaced by something black and sleek that I'd never seen before. She'd redone her makeup too. Her lips were darker, her eyes more dramatic. She looked beautiful in a way that made my chest ache. The valet greeted her by name. "Good evening, Mrs. Morrison." I nearly dropped my coffee. Mrs. Morrison. She was using his name. She walked into the resort like she belonged there, confident and unhurried. I waited 5 minutes, then followed, keeping my distance. The bar was dim and sophisticated, all dark wood and soft lighting. I spotted them immediately, at a corner booth with an ocean view. Hank Morrison in person was even more imposing than in photos. Silver hair perfectly styled, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He stood when Valerie approached, and they kissed. Not a friendly peck, but a real kiss, intimate and familiar. I felt sick. I positioned myself at the opposite end of the bar, partially hidden behind a decorative pillar, and ordered a beer I had no intention of drinking. From here, I could see them clearly without being obvious. They talked and laughed like old friends, like lovers, like people who'd known each other for years instead of months. Hank's hand rested possessively on Valerie's knee. She leaned into him, touching his arm when she laughed, playing with her hair in that unconscious way she used to do with me during our early dates. A waiter brought them champagne, apparently a standing order, because there was no discussion of what they wanted. Hank raised his glass in a toast. I couldn't hear what he said, but Valerie's face lit up with genuine happiness, the kind of unguarded joy I hadn't seen from her in at least a year. They stayed for 2 hours. I watched them share appetizers, watched Hank feed her something from his fork, watched her throw her head back laughing at something he said. I watched him sign the check without even looking at it, the casual gesture of someone for whom money was no object. At 8:45 p.m. they stood. My heart hammered as I realized what came next. Hank's hand moved to the small of Valerie's back as they walked toward the elevators. Not the lobby exit. The elevators. He had a room here. Of course he did. They stepped into the elevator together, and the doors closed. I stared at those closed doors for a long moment, feeling something cold and final settle in my chest. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just sex. This was a relationship, a whole separate life she'd built with someone else while coming home to me every night and pretending everything was fine. I left the resort and sat in my car in the parking lot as the sky darkened and the ocean turned black. I called James, my college roommate who'd gone to law school and now practiced family law in Orange County. "Scott? Hey man, what's up? I need to see you tomorrow. Can you make time?" He must have heard something in my voice. "What happened?" "Valerie's having an affair." I just watch them together. I need to know what my options are. Jesus. Yeah, of course. Come to my office tomorrow at 9. And Scott, don't do anything tonight. Don't confront her, don't fight. Just come home and act normal. Can you do that? Yeah, I lied. I can do that. When I got home at 10 p.m., Valerie's car wasn't in the driveway yet. I went inside, microwaved some leftovers I didn't eat, and sat in the living room in the dark. She came home at 11:23 p.m., her hair slightly mussed, her makeup faded. Hey baby, she said softly. Still not feeling well? Just tired, I managed. She kissed the top of my head, the same head she'd probably been thinking about leaving while Hank Morrison was inside her a few hours ago. I'm exhausted. Inventory was brutal. I'm going to shower and crash. Okay. I sat there after she went upstairs, listening to the water run, and that's when I started planning. Not revenge, not yet. But protection. Documentation. A strategy. If Valerie wanted to play games with our finances and our future, she was about to learn that I was very, very good at my job. Friday morning, I met James at his office in Costa Mesa. The place was all glass and chrome, the kind of professional success that made me proud of my old friend. He'd always been sharp, even back in college when we were just two kids trying to figure out life. Talk to me, he said, closing the door behind us. I pulled out my laptop and showed him everything. The bank statements with highlighted transfers, the credit card charges, screenshots of the text messages, the photos from her cloud backup, the timeline I'd created in a spreadsheet, cross-referencing her work schedules with hotel charges and location data. James scrolled through it all, his expression growing darker. Jesus, Scott. She's not even being subtle about it. Can she really take half of everything? I asked, the question that had kept me awake all night. James leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen against his desk. California is a community property state, so generally yes. Everything acquired during the marriage gets split 50-50. But, and this is important, if you can prove she was depleting marital assets in preparation for divorce, that changes things. And this, he tapped the stack of bank statements. This is pretty damn clear evidence of dissipation of assets. What do I do? First, and this is critical, don't let her know you know. Not yet. The moment she realizes you're onto her, she'll lawyer up and start hiding things. Second, we need to document every asset you have, the house equity, retirement accounts, vehicles, everything. Third, we protect your remaining cash. Open a new account at a different bank and move what's left of your savings there. If she's already taken $18,000, she'll take more. Is that legal? It's your money too. You're not hiding it, you're protecting it. She's already done the same thing. James pulled out a legal pad and started making notes. Fourth, we file first. In divorce, controlling the narrative matters. We file on your terms, in your time frame, and we do it before she's ready. How long do I have to keep up the act? A week, maybe 2. I need time to prepare the paperwork properly. Can you do that? Can you go home every night and pretend everything's normal? I thought about it. About watching her lie to my face. About knowing where she'd been and who she'd been with while smiling and asking about her day. Yeah, I said. I can do that. That afternoon, I opened a new checking account at a credit union across town, one Valerie had never heard of. Then I systematically transferred every remaining dollar from our joint savings and checking accounts into it. $34,000 total. Everything she hadn't already moved to her secret account. If she was planning to leave me broke, she'd have to try harder. I spent the weekend documenting everything James had requested. I photographed every room of our house, cataloged our belongings, pulled our mortgage statements, collected titles and deeds. I backed up all the evidence in 3 separate locations, an external hard drive, a cloud storage account Valerie didn't know about, and James's office server. And I went home every evening, kissed my wife, and pretended everything was fine. The next week was the longest of my life. Every morning, I woke up next to a stranger wearing my wife's face. Every evening, I came home and asked about her day, watching her fabricate stories with impressive creativity. Monday, we got a new shipment of fall inventory today. You should see these handbags, Scott. Absolutely gorgeous. Tuesday, Tina and I grabbed lunch at that new sushi place. Way too expensive, but the tuna was incredible. Wednesday, ugh, we had this customer today who tried on literally everything and bought nothing. 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. Thursday, inventory night. Don't wait up. This is going to take forever. I tracked her phone to the waterfront resort at 7:14 p.m. She didn't come home until midnight. Friday, when she was at work, I checked her cloud backup again. New photos from Thursday night. Her and Hank at a different restaurant this time, somewhere with candlelight and wine. Her wearing a necklace I'd never seen, delicate and clearly expensive. His hand over hers on the table. One photo was taken in what was obviously a hotel room. She was wearing a white bathrobe, her hair wet, laughing at something off camera. The caption she'd added, "Perfect evening." I closed my laptop and sat very still for a long time. That night, Friday, we had dinner together at home. I'd picked up Thai food on the way back from work, her favorite, pad Thai with extra peanuts. We ate at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals over 5 years. "You've been quiet lately," Valerie said, twirling noodles around her fork. "Everything okay?" "Just busy at work. Big audit coming up. You work too hard, you know that?" She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We should take a vacation. Maybe go somewhere nice. When's the last time we just relaxed together?" The hypocrisy was breathtaking. "That sounds great. Where would you want to go?" "I don't know. Hawaii. Or maybe Europe. Somewhere romantic." She smiled at me, and I wondered if she felt anything, guilt, remorse, even the basic discomfort of profound dishonesty. "Sure," I said. "We can look at dates." We both knew we'd never take that trip. Sunday evening, James called. "We're ready. I'm filing the papers Monday morning. They'll serve her at work on Tuesday afternoon." "Okay. Scott, once this happens, things are going to get ugly. Her attorney, and she will get an attorney immediately, is going to paint you as the bad guy. They'll claim you hid assets, that you were controlling, that you isolated her. You need to be prepared for that." "I understand. And you're sure you want to do this? Once these papers are filed, there's no going back." I thought about Valerie's laugh in those photos. Her smile for Hank Morrison. The $18,000. The lies, so many lies. "I'm sure." "All right. I'll need you out of town when it happens. Somewhere with alibi witnesses. Can you arrange that?" "I've got an audit scheduled in San Francisco for Tuesday and Wednesday. I was going to cancel it, but..." "Don't. Go. Be visible, professional, and nowhere near Long Beach when she gets served." Monday night, I packed for San Francisco. Valerie helped me, folding shirts and asking about the client. I told her I'd be back Wednesday evening. She kissed me goodbye at the door Tuesday morning. "I'll miss you," she said. "Miss you too." I drove to LAX and flew to San Francisco, checking into my hotel by noon. At 2:47 p.m. Pacific Time, while I was in a conference room reviewing financial statements with a client, James texted me. "Papers served. She's calling you." My phone started ringing almost immediately. Valerie's name lit up my screen. I declined the call and turned my phone to silent. Over the next 4 hours, she called 17 times. She left 8 voicemails. She sent 23 text messages, escalating from confusion to anger to panic to bargaining. "Scott, what is this? Call me. Divorce papers? What the hell? Where are you? Call me now. Please, we need to talk. This is insane. I don't understand. What did I do? Call me please. Scott, I love you. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it." I read each message with the kind of detachment I usually reserved for financial reports. Just data. Just information. Wednesday evening, I flew home. James met me at my house, technically still my house, since I hadn't moved out yet. "Her attorney already reached out," he said. "Guy named Preston from a firm in Newport Beach. He's aggressive, expensive, and very good at what he does." "What did he say?" "The usual posturing. Claims you're being unreasonable, that Valerie is blindsided and devastated, that she wants to reconcile. He's fishing to see what we know." "Did you tell him?" "Not yet. Let them think we're just throwing a tantrum. They'll be less prepared when we present the evidence." "When do I have to talk to her?" "You don't. Not directly. Everything goes through attorneys now. But she'll probably try to ambush you at some point. Don't engage. Be polite but firm. You have nothing to say to her." Thursday morning, I went back to work like nothing had happened. Colleagues asked about San Francisco. I told them the audit went well. Everything was normal, professional, fine. Thursday evening, I came home to find Valerie's car in the driveway. She was sitting on our front porch steps, still wearing her Luminance work clothes. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged. She looked small and broken in a way that might have moved me a week ago. Now I just felt tired. "Scott." She stood as I approached. "Please. We need to talk." I don't think that's a good idea. You filed for divorce. You didn't even tell me. You didn't give me a chance to explain. Explain what, Valerie? She blinked. Whatever you think I did. Whatever's making you do this. I looked at her for a long moment. I know about Hank Morrison. Her face went white. How did you? I'm an auditor, Val. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the money disappearing? The charges? The lies? The photos? The messages? Scott, please. It's not what you think. I made a mistake. I was confused. I love you. No, you don't. And honestly, I don't think you ever did. That's not true. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll end things with him. I'll do whatever it takes. You're not ending things with him because you want to. You're ending things because he's already moved on to someone else. I watched her face and saw the truth of it. Samantha from your store called me. Told me about Jessica. About how Hank's taking her to lunch now. How he told you it was never serious. Valerie's composure cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. He used me. He said we'd be together, that he'd take care of everything, and then he just... So now you want to come back to the safe option? The reliable husband who'll forgive you and pretend it never happened. No. I mean, yes, I want to fix this, but not because of him. Because of us. Because we have 5 years together, Scott. That has to mean something. It did mean something. And you destroyed it. I walked past her to my front door. She grabbed my arm. Please don't do this. I'm begging you. I'll sign whatever you want. I'll give back the money. Just don't leave me. I gently removed her hand. You should go. We'll talk through our attorneys. Scott. Goodbye, Valerie. I went inside and closed the door, locking it behind me. I stood in my dark foyer, listening to her sob on the other side, and felt absolutely nothing. The divorce process took 4 months, and was exactly as ugly as James had warned. Valerie's attorney, Preston, was good. He painted a picture of a controlling husband who monitored his wife's spending, isolated her from friends, and filed for divorce in retaliation for her trying to establish financial independence. But James was better. Every accusation they made, we countered with documentation. They claimed I'd hidden assets. We showed the $18,000 Valerie had transferred to her private account first, plus the timeline proving her transfers started months before mine. They claimed I was controlling. We presented the text messages showing her planning to leave me, the photos of her with Hank Morrison, the credit card statements proving systematic deception. They claimed she wanted to reconcile. We showed messages dated after the divorce filing, where she was still texting Hank, begging him to reconsider, calling him the love of her life. The judge wasn't impressed with Valerie's defense. In December, we reached a settlement. The house would be sold and equity split 50-50. We each kept our own retirement accounts. I kept the savings I'd moved. She kept what she'd moved. The court ruled it balanced out. No spousal support for either party. Clean break. Valerie signed the papers without looking at me. But the real revenge, if you could call it that, came from sources I never expected. 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, Samantha called me. Scott, I thought you should know. Hank and Jessica got engaged. There was an announcement in the Orange County Register business section. Big party planned for New Year's. How's Valerie? A mess. She quit Luminance last week. I heard she's working at a smaller boutique in Irvine now. She asked about you the other day. What did you tell her? That you'd moved on. That she made her choice. Tina, who'd been Valerie's best friend for 3 years, called a few days later. She'd cut ties with Valerie after learning the full story. She keeps talking about you, Tina said. Wanting to know if you're dating anyone, if you've moved on. She actually said, and I quote, I think I made the biggest mistake of my life. What did you say? I told her that yes, she did, and that some mistakes you don't get to undo. Patricia, Valerie's mother, called me on a Tuesday evening in late December. We'd always gotten along well. Scott, honey, I wanted you to know that I don't blame you for what happened. Valerie told me everything eventually. I'm ashamed of her. You don't need to. I do. You were good to her. You were loyal and kind, and you worked hard to give her a good life. And she threw that away for a fantasy. For a man who was just using her. I raised her better than that, and I'm sorry she hurt you. I appreciate you saying that. Are you doing all right? I looked around my new apartment in Belmont Shore, a 1-bedroom place 3 blocks from the beach. Small but mine. Honest. Yeah, actually I am. Good. You deserve better than what she gave you. By January, I'd settled into a new rhythm. I joined a cycling group that met Saturday mornings. Started going to a gym near my apartment. Reconnected with college friends I'd neglected. Had dinner with James and his wife. Went on a few dates, nothing serious, just coffee and conversation with women who didn't come with years of baggage and betrayal. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Valerie had moved into a small apartment in Orange County. That she was struggling with the reduced hours at her new job. That she'd gained weight and cut her hair short. That she was seeing a therapist. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing these things. I didn't feel vindicated or triumphant. I just felt neutral, like hearing about a stranger's life. But I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was just free. Free to build something new. Free to be honest. Free to find someone who actually wanted the life I was offering, instead of using it as a safety net while chasing something shinier. The best revenge, I'd learned, wasn't making Valerie suffer. It wasn't even exposing her lies or claiming victory in court. It was this, sitting on my balcony, drinking my beer, watching the stars come out over the Pacific, and realizing I was genuinely, honestly okay. Better than okay. I was happy. And that, more than anything else, was something she could never take away. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.